Okay, well, I've transplanted all the peppers, I've filled in the Swiss chard, and here is the Swiss chard and some of the peppers that I had to work with. I now have them in a sterilite bin. You'll notice that there's some holes right along here. That's because this bin actually used to be for snakes, for a reptile breeding project that I was doing. But those holes are too high. I want to show you one little modification. Down here in the front, let's see what side do I have that on. Right here, I have a hole. And that hole is fairly large, and what it's designed to do is, since this is going to be stored outside, if it should rain and I don't happen to be around and we fill up more than about an inch and a half of depth into this pot, the water will leak out. You want to, I don't care if you're using a sterilite bin, I don't care what you're using. If you're using a watertight container to house your plants, you're going to want to put a drain hole about an inch to an inch and a half up on it, and you want to make it a very large hole because some of the dirt and debris can get in here and prevent it from draining. What that does is it prevents you from coming home and finding 4 inches of water in the top of your plants and having all your plants completely drowned, turned upside down, destroyed, and damaged. Ask me how I know that can happen. So now we're ready to go ahead and water these plants, and the way that I like to water plants in this situation is simply to go ahead and fill up the bin. And I don't mean really fill it up. I want to add, I'm going to add about a ½ inch of water is what this is going to come out to. And that's going to be what's known as watering from the bottom, meaning that the soil in the pots will now absorb the moisture up through the pots. I probably used a little more water in this bin than I actually needed to because I'm in a situation where a lot of this soil is very dry because it was just put in. I'm going to keep an eye on this. I'll probably add more later today. Once everything feels relatively moist to your fingers, what you want to do is you want to keep the moisture level right about a ½ inch. So that means you're going to be adding a little bit of water every day to do that, especially once they're outside because they'll dry out. Same way you do it under the grow lights, but they generally dry out slower under the grow light than they would outside. Now what's beautiful about having them in this kind of a bin or any kind of a bin is it's portable. So we can pick this up and move it. So these guys, because they were just transplanted, they've gone through some shock, they're going to get out of this bright sunlight, I'm going to go take them and put them in some shade, they're going to spend the rest of the day there. Over the next week or two, I'll be moving them progressively into brighter and brighter areas, giving them a decent amount of sunlight every single day, including tomorrow, but limiting their exposure. Now what's nice is if you live in suburbia, you probably have shadows all over the place. By using those shadows and simply moving things around with a portable nature, you're able to give each plant what it needs at its particular time in development. You don't want plants like this that are brand new, that are young, that have been inside, put out in bright sunlight non-stop 24/7 right away. You want to give them some time to get used to that brighter sunlight, but you also need to give them enough light to thrive. Again, with portability and with having a drain hole, you'll be able to do that. I actually have one in the back. I recommend that you put 2 drain holes in case one gets clogged. I'm telling you, if it rains and you happen to be at work or away from home and you end up with water this deep in here, it really damages everything. And again, I'm saying about that deep where you're over the top of the pots. And with that kind of wraps up today's videos on this. I've got one more video coming from you today. It has absolutely nothing to do with gardening, but hopefully these will help you get started on those spring gardening projects so you can feed yourself if times get tough.